COVID-19 has left lakhs of children orphaned in India. Millions of children are stranded and abandoned in our country. But just a small fragment of those children are adopted. The pandemic-induced abandonment has also exposed how various government schemes have not reached children needing care and support after losing their parents to COVID-19. Our budgets for child protection have been shrinking rapidly. And why should we care? Let's unbreak this news.
Multiple things are happening. Sometimes there is an immediate crisis that gets generated because of the parents passing away to COVID, because the children may also have come in contact with their parents. Now that immediately requires that they receive medical attention. Yes. In one of the cases, for example, we received an SOS call where both the parents succumbed to COVID and the children needed to be tested, and not just needed to be tested, but needed medical care thereafter. So in another example, we received a very late night phone call from two children again, where the parents had died and they needed their parents to be taken to first crematorium. Now I cannot imagine the horror or the profound trauma that those children are experiencing, who are having to decide the questions of having to take their parents' dead bodies to crematorium. So it not only shatters the children's world immediately, but it raises questions about how are they going to grow up.
According to UNICEF, India has about 29.6 million orphaned and abandoned children. But the Central Adoption Resource Authority, which falls under the Ministry of Women and Child Development, has alarming adoption statistics. Take a look at India's in-country and inter-country adoption statistics from 2010 to 2022. The adoption numbers have been steadily declining year on year. The pandemic has left tens of thousands of children orphaned in India. In fact, the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, NCPCR, informed the Supreme Court early this year that 1,47,492 children had lost their parents due to COVID since April 2020. But here too, the data was obscure and stood contested. A Lancet article dated February 24, 2022 reported that more than 19 lakh children had lost their primary caregivers due to COVID in India. But this was hotly contested by Indian government. The government called the Lancet article sophisticated trickery intended to create panic among citizens, divorced from the truth and ground reality. But what are the ground realities? How many children were orphaned or abandoned during the pandemic? Where are these children now? How many of them have access to help from the government? To get a sense of the ground realities, we spoke to Jitendra Singh Shanti, a Padma Shri awardee and the founder of the Shaheed Bhagat Singh Seva Dal. Shanti and his team conducted the last rites of thousands of COVID victims in Delhi during the thick of the pandemic.
मार्च में जैसे शुरू हुआ 2020 में कोविड, और वहां से लेकर 21 के मई तक हमने तकरीबन 4,200 कोविड की डेड बॉडी को क्रिमेट किया ऑन रिकॉर्ड। एक बच्चा आया मेरे पास 9 साल का लगभग, पहले उसके फादर की डेथ हुई और एक हफ्ते के बाद उसकी मदर की भी डेथ हुई। और पहली बार जब आया था तो एक दो पड़ोसी एम्बुलेंस में बैठे हुए थे, लेकिन दूसरी बार में वो भी नहीं थे। हमारी एम्बुलेंस में बच्चा अपनी मदर की बॉडी लेके आया था और उसको लग रहा था कि मेरे फादर भी चले गए, मदर भी चले गए, तो हो सकता है कि मैं भी ना बचूं। तो ही वॉज वेरी शॉक्ड और बहुत रो रहा था और कांप रहा था। लेकिन इतने बच्चों वाले केस मेरे पास ना करते भी 100 के करीब तो आए होंगे, जिसमें बच्चियां भी थी जिन्होंने खुद संस्कार किया अपने पापा का या मम्मी का। एक फोन कॉल आया था मुझे लड़की का, उसके 3 लोग गए घर से, पहले उसके पापा गए, फिर उसके जीजा गए, फिर उसकी मम्मी भी गई। उसको 1 रुपया भी नहीं मिला अभी तक। देखो सरकार ने भी तो रूल नहीं निकाला कि ऑर्फन्स होंगे तो हम करेंगे, ऐसे कुछ नहीं। लेकिन वो मुझे लगता है कि सरकार से तो जो 50,000 रुपया था मदद, वो भी अगर सारे सबने ले लियो तो बहुत बड़ी बात है। समय ऐसा था उस समय कि हमारे पास ना पानी पीने का समय था, ना खाना खाने का समय था। हम तो जो आ रहा था कराए जा रहे थे संस्कार। सुबह होती थी, शाम होती थी, पता नहीं लगता। 22-23 दिन तो मैं बाहर ही नहीं निकला शमशान घाट से। भयंकर शॉट था वो, पता नहीं लग रहा था सरकार है भी कि नहीं है दिल्ली में। फोन उठाने बंद कर दिए प्रशासन ने, तो क्योंकि उनके पास कोई सुविधा तो थी नहीं।
That was the state of affairs of just one crematorium in Delhi. The pandemic has left a devastating impact on different states of our country. Let's, for instance, take the case of Maharashtra. According to data from the Women and Child Development Department, In Maharashtra, for every child in the state who lost her mother to COVID-19, 9 children lost their fathers. Since the start of the pandemic in March 2020, 28,938 children in the state lost either of their parents to the infection. Of those who died, 2,919 were mothers and 25,883 fathers. In 136 cases, more than one child from the same family lost either of their parents.
We were prompted to look into children who are orphaned due to COVID-19. And we did a survey basically in Maharashtra of child welfare committees, district child protection units, and we also spoke to a few people in child care institutions as well. And we also spoke to people who were working with the Women and Child Development Department in Maharashtra. But what we felt was that children who were orphaned due to COVID-19 were perhaps getting the most schemes as opposed to other children who were also in difficult circumstances during COVID-19. For example, many children who lost single parents, etc. So that is what we felt that, maybe the additional schemes could have been also put out for, or, additional money could have been put out for a variety of other kind of children who were disadvantaged during COVID-19, rather than just children who, whose parents passed away due to COVID. So that was one thing that we found.
To help children who have lost both their parents or legal guardian or adoptive parents or surviving parents to COVID-19, the PM Cares for Children scheme was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 29th May 2021. The scheme was launched nearly a year after the pandemic devastated the lives of tens of thousands of children. The objective of the scheme was to ensure comprehensive care and protection of children in a sustained manner and enable their well-being through health insurance, empower them through education, and equip them for self-sufficient existence with financial support on reaching 23 years of age. But so far, only a small percentage of the orphaned and abandoned children have received assistance through the PM Cares for Children scheme. Even on one hand, when the PM Cares for Children's website mentions the importance of protection of children in a sustained manner, child protection has been one of the least prioritized sectors in resource allocation over the years. In the Union Budget of 2022-23, children have received the lowest share of financial allocation in the last 11 years. The share for children has reduced from 4.64% in 2013 to 2014 to 2.35% in 2022 to 2023, which means that the children's share in the budget has almost halved since the Modi government took charge. Children without families are the most vulnerable people in the world. Tens of thousands of children who were orphaned and abandoned during the pandemic are still suffering in silence amongst us. Many of their names don't even add up as numbers in the government's registers. Every child has a right to be safe, grow, learn and play. And protection of these rights should be the top priority of the government.